Hey folks, so I'm back with the gun from today's seminar, and I actually went ahead and worked out the UVs on it because I knew that that would take a little longer than I wanted to do in a quick pickup video. But I am going to start out showing you just a shot of the UVs. This is what we came down to. Pretty straightforward layout. On the body of the gun here, this is the butt. And there's Mr. Heisenberg. So let's unflatten that, and what I'm going to go through in this video is going to be texturing on this, which will really be very straightforward. This is not a hard thing to do the textures on at all. So I've already subdivided it, and remember in the seminar we had dynamic subdivision turned on. We had 2 levels of flat and then 2 levels of smooth. So I'm going to fill this with black. Let's also kill the background gradient somewhat. And let's raise up to our highest resolution. And here you can see we still have all our nice poly groups intact from the modeling process. Pardon me. So the first thing I want to do here, I'm going to load up a brush that I use that has a nice metal texture embedded in it. So go over to my stuff. I have a lot of brushes. There's a lot of brushes that we have in-house, and planning on releasing these soon. Just need to go through and help put them all in order. So if anyone would actually like to help me with that, I would accept the help if anyone wants to kind of step in. There's a few hundred brushes here, so it's pretty crazy. Let's see. I go to my metals, and let's start out with old steel. This might be the only metal we actually need to use. And I'm going to take the Z-add down really low. Let's turn up my turn on symmetry, and I want to undo that. And interesting that it doesn't have my store morph target button up. Very interesting. I am not at all pleased by this. There we go. Delete morph target. For some reason the button was grayed out. I want to store a morph target so I keep my original smooth flat shape handy. Mostly because when I send this over to DAZ Studio, I want the simplest, cleanest version of the mesh, and being able to restore it back will get rid of any too much of the sculpting that happens when I'm texturing it, because I don't really want to sculpt on this object very much at all. I mean, I do, but I really just want that stuff to translate into the normal map. So I'll do that, but then when I'm finished, I'll generate my texture in my normal map and then switch it back to its unaltered state so that it doesn't have any potential mesh distortions in the copy that goes into the program. So I'm just going to pull this a few more times. Go to the top a bit. And this is just to get some basic metal qualities down into the poly paint. So let's go grab a couple of other brushes. Let's see, let's look and see what I have in leather. Let's go grab my leather stamp. And on this one, I'm going to momentarily change some things about my brush. I'm going to turn up mask by polygons to 100, and then go into alpha and texture, and we're going to turn that to a value of 3. That's going to give us multiply. And what that'll do, let's turn this down. That'll just multiply that color over itself as it goes down. I think that I actually, I'm going to turn the Z-add back up just a little bit so we get a little bit of surfacing in that. And there's only a couple of places I really want this. Right in here. There we go. So I want this in here for the grip. And I'm going to change it to a spray as well. That way it's a tighter sort of pattern. And then let's use this over the butt. And I think I want to use this on this secondary area here too. Just to kind of keep that sort of feel going. Now I'm going to turn off the texture map, but I still have the alpha present, and we're going to go to RGB and darken this stuff up because I don't want it to be that natural brown. I really want it to be kind of a not a shiny black either, just a leathery black. Turn up the Z-add just a little bit on this now so that we can inflate it just a little bit and get a little more of a padded sort of feeling. And also, you can see here how it's distorting the mesh a little bit. Having that morph target, again, this I can dial back to it so I can get a lot less of that effect. And that's a really handy thing to be able to have. Okay. So now I want to take just a standard brush. I'm going to set my RGB relatively low, and I want to use a kind of a dark green. And just, you can see there, by multiplying and setting the RGB low, I keep a lot of the metal texture in my paint. Without really having to do a whole lot to get that. And sometimes I might want to come in and actually adjust my poly groups a little bit. So let's group that with this and this and these. Just a little bit of poly grouping work here to help make some of this painting flow into the places I want even better. So now when I come back out and I raise my poly count back up, I'll be painting my masking still based on poly groups, and it will flow into these areas just like this. Okay. Now let's do a little bit more of that sort of thing. I'll put some of this stuff together. And the nice thing too at this point is once we have these poly groups made, we can export the model as an OBJ, and when that imports into DAZ Studio, those poly groups will be intact, and then we can create our surfaces from them. And that's just incredibly handy. So now let's put a little bit of paint into this poly group. And I'm going to turn my Z-add down very low on my smoothing brush, and then just gently smooth through some of the paint work that we've done to kind of blur that out, which I find gives a nice metallic sort of feeling. I think we need to group a couple more things into this. Okay, let's do this. There we go. It's a process. Together. This can actually be a very quiet sort of process here. Alright, a little bit more fine-tuning of these groups, because these poly groups really are just key tools in how this is getting textured. So I can't stress that enough. So. Move that. More grouping. Right. Make sure we got everything we need right there. Very close. I can see we've got a stray on that one, so let's just pull that away. There we go. And that's ready. That's going to be the rubber ring around the eyepiece. So let's just walk our way out through this. There we go. And then go. And let's run all of this together. All of that will go together as just a generic metal. That's going to stay pretty much the same. Trigger. Out. So. That all together. Kind of a tedious process, but it's worth it. Very close, very close, very, very close. All right. There we have all those poly groups. Let's run the resolution back up. And now I'm just going to kind of spray a little bit of color in, kind of randomly. Start differentiating some of these areas from others. Kind of like that shape that makes back there. Now then, I want to get a little more colorful with this. Let's bring up our surfacing. Surface menu with Noisemaker. Let's start off by looking to see if we want to introduce any just normal noise into the texture, which we might. Very gently, but still. And we'll apply that. Then I'm going to go back into Edit, change it to UV mode, put the noise plug in, and I want to pull up some camo. So let's look at the camouflage. Really like where this is headed. Let's hit OK. And then I'm going to mask by noise. Give that just a minute to pop through. All right. So now when we paint, we should be able to get some of that pattern showing through. There we go. I'm going to change my brush back to just a normal poly paint mode. Let's go back into our surfacing, surface menu, go to noise, edit. I'm going to turn off the noise plugin. Let's change the scale on that a little bit. Give it some color variation. Apply that. And I want to come back in with just some straight up black for these areas again. I like the idea of that coming off as kind of a bushing. And let's come in here, fill that in. with the trigger. Also going to smooth out some things in the high res here. Put down a subdivision. Some of the stuff that I want to be smoother than it is currently. So it has more of that molded plastic sort of look going on. Too much right there. Just a tiny little bit. Let's turn that resolution back up. And let's come back through with a little more of the green. Let's pick a green from right here. And let's go with something almost black. Turn the resolution down, something really manageable for a minute. And let's do some ambient occlusion masking. For masking, we're going to go to Mask by AO. Turn the intensity up. Start with a very low value. Just increase that a little bit at a time, see what the results come out as. Now we're starting to get some of the tight shadow areas masked in. And the higher that scan distance number is, the larger the shadow areas will be, and the longer it takes it to calculate. There, I sharpen that mask once. Go up to our highest subdiv. Invert that mask, and now I'm going to go to my color tab and start flooding the object with some color. That's going to give us a kind of baked-in ambient occlusion. So now I want to start bringing out some of the details of the shape, like hard edges. So there's a number of different ways that I can do that. I personally like using this one particular brush that I have. It's called Hard Edge Enhance, and it's kind of neat what that does. It's harder to explain than it is just to show, but basically I've designed a brush that as I brush across my mesh, it will look at certain types of edges and drop whatever color I want onto those. So I can use that with some pretty broad strokes to actually generate some very tight little tiny details like dings, especially in metal. That's really what it was designed for, was for bringing out little dings and little nuances of things that are metal and heightening edges. Right there is a great example. those little hot spots and highlights showing up in different areas that really kind of sell this well-used metal feel that we're going for. And I also want to turn my polygroup masking off. That way I can just kind of brush over with some really nice broad strokes. There we go. All right, I'm going to save this. And I want to blacken the barrel a little bit. And I'm going to do that with another of my brushes. This is going to be the sensitive wash brush. Turn that down just a bit. And this brush kind of does the opposite of the edge enhance. It's kind of like doing an ink wash into a traditional model. Very handy brush. Alright, so now I've got my basic colors and everything in place. Be happy with all of that. I'd like to add a little bit of sculpting into the handle. So let's head down there. Turn on Z add. I'm going to turn the intensity all the way up now. I'm going to take a hard polish brush and use that to kind of accent that whole molded plastic shape. I might even need to mess with my material a little bit just so I can see a little more clearly what's going on. There we go. I like just bringing out some hints of organic shape in the midst of something as mechanical as this. I think it kind of brings it to life a little bit. There's a great spot for some of that. And I'm going to turn on stroke. And let's go to lazy mouse, turn on backtrack, snap to track, and line. And that's going to let me put these nice straight sort of ferrules in there. Turn that up. And that feels very manufactured, I think, like that. So now let's take Dam Standard and we'll do the same thing. We're going to turn on Backtrack, turn on Line and Snap to Track, and we're going to turn on RGB, set it to a nice low intensity, and we're going to use this to add some small little seam lines and other sorts of details throughout the rest of this molding. Really like the way that works out. And let's do the same thing with clay buildup. We're also going to set its focal shift down. I like the clay buildup because it can give us a nice square shape. Let's turn on Backtrack, Snap to Track and Line, RGB down nice and low. And we're going to set this to Z sub. And I'm also going to mask these areas before I do this. That way I can get a really nice crisp start and finish. A little bit. There we go. This really is the fun part of something like this. We are almost done. Let's see. Let's put a little bit right here. Now let's add in just some kind of impression of some riveting. So I'm going to take my standard brush, and I really just want small, tight dots. And let's see, where did there's my steel brush. So I'm going to clone the texture that was in that so that I can have that to toss into my standard brush. Let's just drag one of these out and see how it looks. I might need to increase my resolution once. So let's go up one more time. Really push this up. That also gives us a chance to kind of smooth out a little bit of jagginess that was starting to happen in this grit. Smooth out a little bit back here too. Okay. Now let's turn that RGB all the way up. And now we can drop these little rivet looking guys. There we go. I don't really care for those guys though. I like the idea of that being more like a painted on design. Yeah, like that. Mr. Heisenberg has something to say. Almost finished with our rivets. Let's put one right there. I think we might be done. Yeah, I'm really digging that. Alright, so I'm going to save this. And let's just take this brush back to its original state. So now we can do new from poly paint. And that will give us our texture map. And we'll take it down to the lowest resolution. And actually the shape holds up really well, so I don't even need that morph target that we saved. That's kind of cool. And now I'm going to generate my normal map from it, and I'm going to turn off smooth UV, because on hard surface stuff like this, smooth UV will cause your UVs to relax back from the hard edges, and it will just blow things out and look horrible. So we're calculating a normal map, and when that is complete, I'm going to save my file, export my maps, and then the next video will be setting this up inside DAZ Studio.